Well, good evening, everybody.
Get you out next time.
Good evening once again. I'm Bert Campbell. I continue to be your club president, and welcome to the September meeting of the Greenbrier County Republican Club. We are very, very excited to have you out here tonight. Hopefully you like the view and the venue. We're very appreciative of having this opportunity to bring us all together and have some fellowship. We are going to have what I call a informal, formal meeting tonight. And so we are going to dispense with a lot of our updates and the routine stuff. We are blessed with a accomplished speaker tonight that's going to visit with you all. And we do have a little bit of club business to go through, but we kind of keep that to a minimum so you can enjoy some time with each other. The meeting is all about fellowship tonight and getting to know one another and being part of the great conservative movement that we're all working on in this county and the state. There are drinks outside and some food. If you've not gotten anything, you're more than welcome to take some out there and bring it in with you, and we'll go ahead and get started. With that, first of all, I want to do a couple things. I want to thank Vicki and Steve Hart, who hosted us this evening. So let's give them a round of applause. And volunteering to bring you all out here and go through this tonight. So thank you to you guys very, very much for that. I also want to take a moment and mention Dr. McKinney and Sue McKinney, who put all the logistics together, all the invitations, all the work, all of you got here through Doug's effort tonight. So we can appreciate Doug and Barbara and Frank. Never happened by itself, so I want to thank everybody for that. Finally, the last thing I want to do is I want to thank you all. Thank you all for a good year. We've had a very nice year with the club and with the Republican Party here in the county, and things are just getting started. And it's going to be a very, very eventful fall. A lot of things to do. But first of all, I'd like to mention to everybody that hopefully one of the things you're going to do this fall is join the club. One of the opportunities we have this evening is to come together and recognize that we are at a point of year where club membership is important to each and every one of you. And why I say that is because as of tonight, if you are a member of the club, you can vote in our upcoming elections for the club, and those are in the next couple of months. So it's an important time for you all. If you've not joined the club or you're interested in joining the club, there's certainly a number of us that can talk to you about it. We do have applications here, and we'd like for you to consider your membership as well as vote in the upcoming elections. With that, I think it's appropriate that we open with our normal prayer, so I'll ask our chaplain, Brent Thompson, to lead us in prayer, please.
Heavenly Father, in our hearts we plan our course and we pray that you establish our steps. I pray that we seek you for your advice. Let us not make decisions based upon what we know, but let us act based upon your wisdom. Please guide us. We place this meeting in your hands. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands so that you may direct us. Amen.
Amen. And Frank, I think Frank is in here somewhere. Frank, are you going to play what you supposed to play? Sure. Kind of our tradition in the club, and we all say the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a flag out here tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. We do have a number of guests tonight, and I wanted to take a moment and introduce them to you all, so you make sure you know that. First of all, we're joined finally by Mr. Ben Anderson, who is our executive committee chairman for the county. So we're pleased to have Ben among us. Ben, I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. Could you give us just 30 seconds of upcoming events for the rest of the campaign season? I know we have a truck train, and we've got a dinner, we've got a couple of things. Would you mind just
Sure, 30
Go ahead
seconds.
with us.
8 to 30 seconds, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
Dinner, October 17th, Red Wave Dinner. Our guest speaker will be Jordan Sekulow, the son of Jay Sekulow, who is, both of them are part of President Trump's legal team, and so really excited to have them. October 17th. Tickets will be $60 for regular folks and $50 for associate members of the executive committee. And also, beyond that, there will be on November 2nd, the Trump Train Parade from White Sulphur to downtown Lewisburg, sprawling the interstate all the way to Raynell. Last time we had about 1,000 vehicles, let's make it 10,000 this time.
Thank you, Ben.
Dinner will be at Quality Inn in Lewisburg. Only 270 tickets.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. And if you have not been part of the Trump train, I'll tell you, that's a special thing. It really is special to be out there. And Ben and I had a hand in it last time, and it was quite an event. So we're looking forward to it again this time. We're also joined by Tammy Fincher in the back, one of our very, very successful county commissioners running for re-election this year. So
Thank you all, anybody who signed up to be a poll worker, we appreciate you.
I also saw Boogie Ambler in here. Boogie was one of our former delegate here. So we're happy to have him joining us tonight, as well as Vince Steeds, our senator, our current acting senator. So Vince, welcome. Thank you. We're also joined tonight by our Secretary of Agriculture. Kent Leonhardt has come all the way down from Morgantown to spend the evening with us. We're happy to have him back in Greenbrier County once again. I'm told through confidential sources that Kent's going to step outside in a few minutes and do a traditional rain dance for us to help us with the drought situation for our farmers. So I'm sure you're excited to see that. But if you don't know anything about Kent, he's been our Secretary of Agriculture for a couple tours now, right? Also running for election this fall. Prior to that, Kent came to West Virginia and bought a farm, tried to settle down and wasn't able to. The political life found him. Prior to that is a full career in the Marine Corps and retired lieutenant colonel. So, Kent, would you like to come up and say a few words?
I'd be glad to, but I'll keep it short. You know?
All right.
Yeah, one of the things, you went to some of these schools too, Frank. They said when General Grant had a young lieutenant messenger come to his tent, he told the messenger, said, "Be short, be quick, and get the hell out of my tent." So I'll try to be short, be quick, and get out of your tent, because I know I'm not the main speaker. But I want to thank you all. Nobody gets into these statewide offices without the help of everybody out there. It takes an awful lot of working together, and I've been very blessed. I'm in my second term. Hopefully I'll move on for a third term, and then I think I'm going to let my wife have a retirement with her husband. Having been through the Marine Corps, starting a farm from scratch, and the political, I'm not so sure which was more dangerous. But anyway, I just want to give you a good report. Until this drought was going to happen, agriculture was growing in West Virginia. We had an increase of over 50% in wholesale goods being sold to grocery stores and things of that nature. While the national cattle numbers were down, West Virginia's cattle numbers were up. And the same went for sheep and goats as well. We were processing more red meat, 50% more than when I first took office. We've been doing some great things. One of the best economic developments, you're hearing a lot of news about economic developments and jobs coming, but the number one with the least amount of taxpayer dollars is Mountaintop Beverage up in Morgantown. And they're doing aseptic beverages, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And as soon as they can find the labor force and we get the interchange in up there, they're going to more than double their workforce. And they've replaced a lot of the jobs. So that was a great accomplishment brought to you by the Department of Agriculture. So anyway, we're going to continue on doing what we're doing. We've tried to change the attitude and being a good Republican from regulatory to educate before regulate. In other words, we went out and we want to bring everybody into compliance to food processing. A lot of the things that we regulate are actually federal jobs. So I've got a lot of cooperative agreements with the federal government where they help pay for it. So I would rather have a West Virginian go into that agribusiness and say, let's help you get there and do this so you meet the federal requirements, than have some bureaucrat from Washington come in and then just put the hammer down on some folks. So that's the attitude that we're trying to bring forth to the Department of Agriculture. I'd appreciate your vote. Please spread the word. And on the national level, I think West Virginia is going for Trump. That's pretty obvious, right? If you got friends and family out of state, you've got to call them. You got to get on the phone. This is going to be a grassroots thing. You got to get out there and work. We've got to make sure President Trump gets reelected. He even said the other day, you don't have to like me to vote for me. So we got to make sure that he gets elected so that we can do some of the things. And there's some things that I want to get done as well for West Virginia. And it'll be a lot easier with the new administration in Washington. So thank you all very much.
Those of you who don't know, Ken's also a director in, hang on a second, Ben. Ken's also a director in West Virginia State Fair, so he spent several weeks in Greenbrier County.
Yeah, I spent
Nearly
a
a
lot of time in
resident.
Greenbrier. I love Greenbrier County.
Perfect, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hey, can Vince and I co-chair the draft Shirley Leonhardt for Ag Commissioner 2028?
No. But thank you for the thought.
Don't worry.
They tried to draft it for the House once. They
Doug,
did.
yeah.
Gordon, we would be remiss if we didn't introduce and thank for coming former Congressman Cleve Benedict and his wife Susie.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. So, lots of personalities in the house. Again, one of the opportunities we have to mingle and meet people is to meet people like Cleve and learn a little bit about their background and what they've accomplished throughout their careers. And so please take advantage of that as we finish up tonight. But without further ado, we're going to move to our guest speaker tonight. We are very honored to have Matt Herridge down from Wood County to Greenbrier County tonight to talk to us a little bit about how he sees the landscape in the state, as well as the national landscape. Matt has been the chairman of the state party since January. So newly minted and off and running. Prior to that was head of the finance committee for the state party, so he knows a little way around the books. When he's not trying to elect very good conservatives to office, he is the CEO of Charton Management, which is a restaurant franchise operation that he runs. He is also a clinical psychologist, so be careful how you answer his questions. Matt does have a PhD in psychology from Virginia Tech. So, without further ado, please let me join Matt Herridge and ask him to come to the stage.
Thank you, sir.
Take the flag down.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Would you take
What?
the flag down?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
We have a good place. I don't want to lay it down, so I'm going to.
Mom,
Thank you. This is a beautiful area. You know, I'm from Wood County. We've got rolling hills, but this is truly a beautiful part of the state. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for the invitation tonight. Mr. McKinney, Dr. McKinney, thank you so much for the invite. Really appreciate it. Mr. Campbell, all of our esteemed guests are elected officials and past elected officials. It's great to be here, and thank you so much for the kind invitation. So I want to talk to you about a number of things tonight. Let me start by saying this. It is a good time to be a Republican. A very good time to be a Republican. It's a good time to be a Republican in the United States, but it's a very good time to be a Republican in West Virginia. Folks, we are seeing unprecedented change in this state over the past decade. A lot of this has been due to the hard work of many of you, many of our elected officials who have been there. My senator from Wood County, Donna Boley, remembers when she was the only Republican in the entire Senate. Folks, this year, we may be going to 33-1 Republicans and 1 Democrat. That may happen this year.
Amazing.
It is truly amazing, guys. And so let me brag a little more for a minute. So 44 of our 55 counties are plurality Republican. Now let that sink in for a minute. 6 years ago, when our esteemed senator decided to run again in our former governor mansion, it was almost exactly the opposite. That ratio. 6 years ago. 41 out of 55 counties. Folks, Kanawha County is now plurality Republican. Mercer County is plurality Republican. So I just give yourselves a hand for a minute, because guys, this is truly. I have been blessed enough to come into this role during this moment in time, and I'm so thankful that I'm here. I'm getting to work with incredible people like you, and across this great state, and these folks are fired up. What West Virginia brings is common sense. And when I travel, when I get to go to these meetings with the national organization, the Republican National Committee, West Virginia is the center of the conversation. They want to know, what's going on? How is this happening? How did this occur? What tips can you give us? Now, there's a lot of reasons behind what we've seen, this unprecedented change, but the biggest part of it, I truly believe, is the nature of West Virginians really hasn't changed. West Virginians have always been about faith, family, and freedom. And those things have been a part of you. Most of you, maybe some of you were Democrats. My grandmother was a Democrat. My grandfather was Republican. They fought their entire marriage. But they shared the same values. And this is a funny story. On their 60th wedding anniversary, my grandmother changed parties. That was her present. 60 years it took her. But she did it. And I still remember having great conversations with them. But the fact is, West Virginians share a lot of common values. And that's why I know what we're seeing in this state is going to stick. It's going to stay. I want to give you an example. So let me talk. I was asked by Dr. McKinney to talk to you a little bit about convention. So the day before we were to leave for convention, Sunday, I was at my niece's wedding. Beautiful wedding outside. My phone was turned off due to my wife's clear instructions. And I was enjoying the wedding. Well, her wedding was at 6:30. You guys know where I'm going with this. The wedding was over, I stood up, I walked over and I turned my phone on. Bzz, 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 it just stopped, right? What's going on? First I thought, is this a joke? Is this real? But our president had been shot. So immediately, my mind's going through all kinds of things and I'm going, what does this mean? What does this mean for him? What does this mean for the party? What does it mean for the convention? What does it mean for our West Virginia delegates that are about to leave? And so I'm talking, I'm calling, we're figuring out what we're going to do. Is it on? Is it off? Is anything changing? And what I am proud to tell you, every single delegate, alternate, and guest that was scheduled to go to Milwaukee showed up from West Virginia. Not one person was intimidated by that, or scared, or said, I don't know, that's still too frightening now. This is real. This is looking really rough. I don't think we're going to go. But they all showed up. And there are a number of you in this audience that were there. Folks, I was so proud. West Virginia was given a front row seat. Those of you who maybe watched on TV, maybe saw us a couple times. We had those hard hats on, and we were in the front row the first night. We had the front 8 rows at this convention. That was, I think, a first for West Virginia. First of all, that was amazing. It was just an incredible experience. We were being photographed. We were being interviewed. I think it was the first night. Our Ben Anderson was pulled off by Jesse Waters' team and interviewed on TV. He did an awesome job. If you didn't get to see that, West represented us so well. Vince, you probably were interviewed multiple times as well. We had Louis Rexroth from my hometown in Parkersburg. Who, those of you who I don't know if you know Louis. Louis is an older gentleman in his 80s. He is a diehard Republican, loves this party, sacrificed for this party. He was being interviewed by Norway, Australia. It was awesome, and it was just such an amazing experience. Our delegation chair, Attorney General Patrick Morrissey, was there in the front row with Denise. We had so many great people that were represented at that as a part of our party, and I want to tell you, you can be proud of the state. We represented the state well, I truly believe. And I can't tell you how many, I can tell you story after story over the week. Photographs that were put into the New York Times, editorials that were written. I was just actually on the phone today with Harper's Magazine. They were interviewing me because they had met me at the convention and are now finally getting around to their full story on the RNC. And so it was just a truly amazing experience, a once in a lifetime for those who attended, but also I think a great example of who West Virginia is. And so I wanted just to share a little bit about that. I'll share one more thing. That was really funny. So as you probably know, Governor Justice spoke. He was asked to speak one night. Baby Dog was there with him. Baby Dog was up there on the stage. Now, I want to tell you something about Baby Dog. Love or hate Baby Dog. Baby Dog gets attention. And as soon as he came down off that stage, the press wanted more photographs of that dog than anybody else, and the next two speakers didn't get any attention. I was kind of mad at this. Am I right? No one was paying attention to the poor speakers. It was that dog. But that was kind of funny. But we truly had a great time. We enjoyed it. It was great to see our elected officials there and those who are going to be taking over our Board of Public Works. Kent is going to be one of those members who actually going to be one of the veterans now, right? Because the other folks are coming in are kind of new.
Well, two of them will be there, but in different roles.
In different roles, that's correct, yeah. So, but I'll tell you, it's exciting to see the future and our leadership, what's happening in the state. And I'm so happy to be a part of this. So let me talk about something else. Now I want to turn for a minute. You guys, the news has been crazy, right? We had a shooting. We had the RNC. We had Joe Biden announce that he's no longer a candidate. We had Kamala Harris installed without anybody voting for her. We had all this happen. We had Elon Musk come out and say, I'm for Trump. We had Robert F. Kennedy II come out and say, I'm for Trump. We have seen unbelievable change over the past couple months, right? And if you're a political junkie, this is like candy to you, right? I mean, this is crazy what has happened. But I want to speak about RFK for a minute. I don't know if you saw his speech when he announced that he was going to support Donald Trump.
Yes.
So he said three things that really struck me. One particular thing. But they asked him, why are you doing this? He said, number one, free speech. I'm like, go for it, brother. Amen to that. We have watched a party, a Democrat Party, who, if you want to give them any credit, they used to be kind of for free speech. But they've foregone, that's foregone. It's you follow our line or we're going to cancel you, we're going to sue you, we're going to imprison you, we're going to find a way to stop you from speaking. That's what they have become. And he recognized it. He said, this isn't my party. But he said free speech. Second thing he said, endless wars. He said, I'm tired of the wars. Now, there's different ways to look at the wars, certainly, and I think Republicans can be split on some of these things and what our roles is in the world. But that was the point for him. But the one that struck me the most, because it's really meaningful to me, because I've talked to some of you tonight, I have 6 grandchildren. I've had 6 grandchildren in the past 4 years, 0 to 6. I just got back from vacation with some of them, and I need a vacation. It was wild. I'm not 25 anymore, that's for sure. But he said this, he goes, the third reason, the war on children of the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Now you think about that. That's coming from a Democrat. But you know what? He's exactly right. You think about that. Abortion. This transgender nonsense. Getting kids confused about what's a boy, what's a girl. When do I decide if I'm a boy or a girl? At 5 or 8 or 7, 10 years old? What happened during COVID? We'll take you out of school. You're not going to go to school. We're gonna put your education back a full year. There is a war on children. There really is, and I think we need to remind people that party is not for our kids. I hate to say it. turning their eye on the border and what's happening there. So that one struck me, and I said, you know, guys, that is exactly right. We have got to show America what we stand for when it comes to our kids and our grandkids. I want to read you a quote, and I brought this up because I don't quite remember it exactly, but Thomas Paine, speaking of common sense, remember he's the great writer of Common Sense, he wrote. He said, I prefer peace, but if trouble must come, let it come in my time so that my children can live in peace. Even back then, people realized the reason we're doing what we're doing is because we care about that next generation.
Right.
We care about that third generation.
Right.
And so I think that's something we should be proud of. We should always be proud of who we are as Republicans. We don't forget, guys, we are the party. We're the party of Lincoln that said slavery is wrong. We're the party of civil rights. We're the party that's pushed that. We're the party of free speech. We're the party of free a free and fair economy, allowing people to succeed, not holding them back with regulation, holding them back with, frankly, racist policies sometimes. You're not going to be allowed to do this because you're not the right gender, color, whatever. We've got to make things fair again, and that's what we stand for, and so I'm proud of that. But my other point that I want to make to us tonight, and this is the mantra I've been making across the state, and I'm proud to say that also, and not that I wouldn't have expected this, Attorney General Morrissey has also been talking about this a lot when he travels and speaks, and that is the word unity. Now, I've dissed the Democrat Party a lot. I'm not talking about them right now. I'm talking about the Republican Party. Guys, we are a super majority. We're probably the strongest super majority in this country right now. And we've done that in a decade. Now, when things come fast, I've learned this in my life. Anything that comes really quick and sometimes really, I'm not going to say easy, but I'm going to say fast, can turn fast too.
Right.
So we've got to be wary of that. We've got to be aware that yes, we should be proud of where we've come, because we're a super majority, and I'm bragging about we're going to be 33-1. There's not much further you can get, right? So that you start to look at, well, we might be moving backward. And the way we will move backward is if we can't maintain the unity of our basic core values, which are faith, family, freedom. And I'm going to add another tonight, that's finances. My youngest child, 24 years old, he's wondering, am I ever going to be able to afford a house? I'm looking at this economy, and I'm barely making ends meet. And I want to be able to have that American dream too. And there's his fiance they were like, we've got good jobs, but we don't know how we're going to affect this. Finances is another thing that we need to preach today, and that's who we are. That's part of our identity. But I'm getting a little off track, but the way we're going to achieve this is through unity. And that means we can't get into what I'll call the circular firing squad mode within the Republican Party. Now, it's absolutely true when we get bigger, we're going to have more of us with different opinions on different things. And we're going to have, I'm here, and you're here, and you're here. But you know what? We're all here. We're not here. That's the point I want to make to you. We've got to find a way that we can't take out our enemy is not each other when we disagree on some things. It really isn't. Our enemy is that party who wants to take away free speech, who has a war on children, who wants to basically turn us into a socialist type of nation. That's who our enemy is. We have got to hang together as Republicans. And I encourage you to do that. When I was younger, somebody cut me off in traffic. It was just, I'd go right to the ceiling. I'm gonna follow this guy, he's making me so mad. I'm angry, I'm chasing him. And now I'm kind of like, Maybe he's got a sick kid at home and he's distracted. Maybe he just got bad news, somebody's family died. Maybe he's not paying attention. I start telling myself a little more logical things that help me manage my opinion of what could be my opponent and what their motivation is, or his motivation. I really work on that, and it helps me a lot, helps my stress. But I really think that's a strategy even within our own party. Let's give each other the benefit of a doubt. Because there are moments, that guy, man, he is. Take 24 hours, think about it, and then come back and say, is that really should? I'm glad I didn't say what I thought I should have said at that moment, right? To my friend, who could be my friend. We need each other's back. We need to have each other's backs. Because it's going to get to a point, potentially, West Virginia may be the state that has to have everybody else's back.
Sure.
Yeah, we're the state. So, unity, I want us to keep that word top of mind. We need to keep that word and that principle top of mind. I'll tell you, it's been such a privilege to serve in this role. You know, I think Mr. Campbell said, I've had a varied background. I started in the medical area. I worked in the cardiology department as a clinical psychologist for 10 years. And I worked with medical students and residents, and I did some teaching, and I did a lot of research, and I did a lot of therapy work for people who had undergone cardiovascular events. Loved that. After that, I went into business world. My family was in the business world of Burger King. So as you can imagine, my colleagues to this day harass me and say, Matt, you went from treating heart disease to creating heart disease. You've got it figured out, brother. It's just circular. But we went into that, and I helped grow our business. We increased it by about 50% to Burger King's, and then I went into another brand about 10 years ago called Qdoba, and we've grown that brand out in West Virginia and southeastern Ohio. We had the opportunity to create a software development company for the restaurant industry, and I ended up selling that to a kitchen equipment manufacturer. And I'm not saying this to brag on myself or anything, but what I'm telling you is I'm so happy that people like me who can't sit still and always are chasing that new squirrel have that opportunity in this state and in this country to do that and fail or succeed. I can tell you a lot about my failures too, if you want to hear this. But we want that dream to stay in front of our children. We want that dream to stay in front of our grandchildren. And I am convinced that West Virginia can be that place. I'm convinced. These folks, as you know, have those core values of common sense. They have those core values of what is the right thing to do. Not just what is personally best for me, but what is the right thing to do for me, for my community, for my family. So I can roll on, and I love to talk philosophy and stuff like that, but I'm going to stop there, and I'm actually at 8 o'clock. I'm getting the opportunity to introduce Patrick Morrissey on a Zoom presentation to the SEC, but that gives me 30 minutes. I don't want to take all that time. You guys probably have other things you'd like to do, but I'd like to open it up. I'd like to open it up to questions, if you have any, about the party, about the state, about anything else in general, nationally. I can speak about the RMC, but I'd love to answer any questions if you have any right now. So, anyone want to be the brave one to ask the first question?
I'd like to make a comment, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm Bill Horn, longtime member, and a longtime Republican. I was a Republican when Archie Moore was governor. Right?
Wow.
But you know, I love Donald Trump, and I think most everybody in here does. But everybody knows that he's an SOB sometimes, you know. But he's our SOB, and we got to back him. And sometimes you got to be in your language. You got to be as tough as he is. You can't just call Kamala Harris a socialist.
Yeah.
Call her a communist. He's called her Comrade Kamala, and that's what she's bringing with price controls. All right, that is communist, not socialist. We we sugarcoat socialism all the time. Everybody, a lot of countries have socialism, including the United States, okay? And the socialists, they all talk democracy. Well, Russia is a democracy that they have votes.
Right.
We are a representative republic. People don't know that. So we're a democracy. We're not a democracy. We're a representative republic with a democratic form of government that has voting, okay? And hopefully the voting is correct, but, so that's my comment.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'll speak to something you just said too about our president.
Okay.
So I think you make a good point. Earlier in the year, and I've been pretty lucky with this so far. I published in the Wall Street Journal twice this year, and the first one was something along those lines. Peggy Noonan, who I used to like, she was Reagan's speechwriter, but boy, she has got under my skin the last decade. She does not like Donald Trump. So she had written an op-ed, and she said she would liken Donald Trump to Mike Tyson, or to a quote from Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's famous quote, that says, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." And she had the nerve to say, Donald Trump's never been punched.
Yeah.
I was just like, what world are you living in?
Only 4 years of it.
Right. So I couldn't help myself. So I wrote in, and they published it, and I said, I think it was something like, Peggy Noonan continues to not understand the Trump phenomena. She said, shockingly, that Donald Trump has never been punched in the mouth. And I said, but the reality is, Donald Trump is Tyson. He's the guy who does the punching. And I think that's right. But not only has he been punched, he's not afraid to take a punch, he's not afraid to punch. And we have to have someone like that, right? To face what we're facing. I spoke on Hoppy a number of times, Kirchhoff, and Hoppy will try to get me to say some negative things about the president. And I've told him, I said, here's what I want you to think, but you got to understand. Donald Trump does sometimes exaggerate, but what he says is also, we see it, those of us who are Republicans, we get him. We think he's funny, but we also see that he's aspirational. Now, can he solve the war in 24 hours in Ukraine? I hope he can. But what we do know is that he's going to do his darndest to get it done.
That's right.
Right? We know he's going to work at it, not platitude. Right. He's going to try to. He is aspirational in his goals. And so we have to defend him. I truly agree with you. We have to be careful because there are people who I'll put into never Trumpers, and I understand some of the stuff that he's done can be grating to some people. But guys, we've got a bigger issue in front of us. And that man changed the Supreme Court, which is going to save a lot of our grandchildren and children from a lot of bad stuff down the road. So I'm thankful for
Unless
that.
the Democrats get in.
Yes.
Unless
That's right. Unless, there you go. But great point. Ben.
Which to that point, can you speak to everybody about what investments the RNC has made into election integrity?
Very good. Thank you for bringing that up. So when when I came on, Michael Whatley was he was in the same role as me, only for North Carolina. He was elected to the chairman of the party nationally, and Laura Trump became his co-chair. When he was moving into that, he had called and talked to me about, wanting my support, and I certainly gave it to him. He said, I just talked to the president. He's telling me he's on the plane with him. And he said, I told him, I said, I got two things we're going to do. He said, my two goals, simple: election integrity and get out the vote. And Donald Trump said to him, you worry about election integrity, I'll get out the vote. And that's about right. But to your point, so we are investing in every single state in the U.S. with legal teams, with get out the vote, with education. In West Virginia, I've already recruited a number of attorneys that are on call if something, God forbid, goes wrong in this election, that we're going to be on the ground dealing with it if there's an election integrity issue. We have attorneys ready to roll. Now, some states, the battleground states, have a lot of attorneys, and they're really focused. They're going to be at the polls. They're going to be watching things. But that is top of mind, and we as in West Virginia are investing in that as well. But we're also investing, a lot of the money we're going to be spending over the next few months is going to be on get out the vote, but also our candidates, right? You'll be seeing mailings, you'll be seeing advertisements through the digital environment, letters, things like that. But we are going to do a full-on call for people to get out and vote for the right candidate. Because guys, we traditionally, Republicans, we like to vote on election day, right? We're proud of that. We like to do that. The problem is the Democrats have learned how to play that game, and so they're going about it in a different way, right? And so I hate to say this, we have to play in this environment. So it's important for us. You don't know, maybe you get ill on election day. When you have a chance to early vote, I think we need to encourage our folks to get out and get their vote counted. We're calling it, Donald Trump calls it swamp the vote. But we are going to swamp all the potential cheating, fraud that could happen on the other side by getting all of our folks out to vote and getting those votes counted early. Okay? So we've got a strategy, and Ben, that's a very, very good point for us to remember. But guys, this party is actively working. I've been really working very closely with Attorney General Morrissey. And when he becomes the next governor, this party and our leadership team, all of our public works folks, we are going to be all in lockstep together. I can tell you that. My goal is to not have factional stuff going on anywhere in this party. I recognize that can be a challenge at times because we all have different goals. But my goal is unity and making sure that people understand this is the thing that we stand for. This is what differentiates us. And this is why you still need to change parties. Those few counties that are not Democrat or Republican plurality. This is why you need to move over and become a Republican. We can make it happen. Thank you, Ben. Any other thoughts, questions, comments?
Man, I've got a question
Yes,
for
sir.
you. So we talk about a supermajority in the state, and we're
Yeah.
blessed by having a very strong conservative value here in the state. But, obviously in the battleground states, there are a lot of contentions and those kind of things, and you mentioned a few of them. Give this group some to-dos on how do they handle that out of state. We're comfortable here. We're going to elect our primary winners most likely, but how do we address that in Arizona? How do we help Arizona or Michigan
So
this
awesome
fall?
question. One of the ways we do it, and it's something, I want you to go to our website it's WVGOP.org, and I want you to look under something that's called the Trump 47 Action Committee, basically. Trump 47 is where West Virginians are volunteering to write letters, to make calls, to maybe even go to some of these states and help those folks be educated and get out the vote. Now, they've asked West Virginia kind of to make calls to our neighbors, for example, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, folks, is going to be one of two states that's going to make this election. And everything we can do as West Virginians to help our neighbors in Pennsylvania vote the right direction is something we need to do. But I want you to go to WVGOP.org. There are multiple ways to do exactly what Mr. Campbell is saying, which is to get out there and help the rest of the country. But it's also more than that, guys. It's writing. It's writing to the paper. It's writing in a letter to the editor. That might get seen by one of our neighboring states. It's just encouraging your friends and family that live outside of this state. Michael Watley, again, he said something I thought that really was interesting. He said, this is a real stat that's been studied and proven. He said, if you spend 5 minutes with someone and tell them why you're voting the way you're voting, for what Republican ticket, 5 minutes, you will move their chances of voting Republican 6% in that direction. If 5 minutes will do that, you will help move that person. And we all know that, right? It's those face-to-face conversations. It's not, I hate to tell you this, I'm not a Facebook person. I've managed to avoid it my whole life. Now, and I still don't have a personal or any social media, but I have to do it through the party. And so, but I hate to tell you this, anonymous yelling at people back and forth on social media probably doesn't work real well. It's those one-on-one conversations that do it. why do I believe what I believe, and respecting the other person as we do that, as we have those conversations. I was pleased that my children growing up knew that if they'd heard something in college or in school that they're like, that doesn't add up with what dad says or mom says, I'm going to ask them about it. And so they would come to me and ask me questions and say, this is what I heard, Dad. Tell me your perspective. You want to have relationships with your friends who say, that's the person who can tell me why Republicans think the way they do. My daughter was in nursing school and she came to me and said, Dad, they're talking all about this socialized medicine stuff. Well, it seems like a pretty good deal. Tell me more what your perspective on that. So it was real quick. I gave her a very quick, I said, let me tell you about what's called first party, second party, and third party buyers, Adrian. First party buyer. I'm buying something that I'm going to use with my money. Now when I do that, I want a good product because I'm using it, and I want a cheap product because it's my cash. Second party. It's when someone buys something for somebody else, or no, someone uses someone else's money for something they're going to use. Guess what? They want it to be good quality, but they don't care what it costs because it's not their money. Well, the government is a third-party buyer. They're not using it, and it's not their money. So what do you think happens to cost, and what do you think happens to quality? They go the wrong directions. Those are the kind of things, again, I use that as an example for a lot of young people. Just, this is the basic things you know inherently, guys. That's why. But make those relationships with your family, with your friends, so that they know I can go to that person and I'll get an answer. I'll get insight as to why they think the way they do. Because what MSNBC and CNN is telling me is that these Republicans are all just wanting to throw Granny off the cliff and strangle people and kill people and take away everybody's rights. That's what they told me on CNN. Right? So we have to be ready with an answer. As the Bible says, have a ready answer. And that applies to a lot of things. Fight the good fight. That's the other good one I love. One of my favorite verses. Any other thoughts?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Explain why the Green New Deal enhances our image.
Explain why the Green New Deal enhances our image. I will tell you why. It's because I think the big picture is it weakens us. It weakens us economically, right?
Now, if we produce the oil here and it gets down to $40 a barrel, we can export it to Russia or to Russia's exportees at this time, and then it'll bankrupt Russia.
We have to go back to that. Where Trump has.
That's right. We want energy. And it's funny you said it because that Harper's magazine today, that's what they were, because I had talked about fossil fuel and energy independence and the fact that West Virginia keeps the lights on.
But the Green
Well,
New
we have to do
Deal
that.
enriches Russia and China.
You're right. Right. That's a great point. That's it. It makes us weaker in so many ways, doesn't it? But you're exactly right. Anything where the government tries to interfere with the free flow of buying and selling, in my mind, that's a broad statement, but it's about 99.9% right. It creates problems when you put your thumb on the scales. It just creates problems. We let the market figure itself out. It works. That's what America has proven. The market works when you let it happen. Great point. Any other comments, questions? Okay. I want to just again say thank you. It's been a pleasure getting to talk with each of you tonight. Those of you who got to do that. I'll be here another 15 minutes, then we'll step outside and do this call. But thank you so much for what you're doing for the party. Thank you for what you're doing for West Virginia. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me or any of our leaders, of your party leaders. And we'll do our best to answer or help in any way we can. Thank you guys so much.
All right, so that concludes our formal part of the program tonight. We do have a few more minutes. If you want to mingle, get to ask, ask Matt a question offline, or any of our folks here, you're more than welcome to do that. There are some soft drinks left outside if you want to step out and have a drink or relax out and enjoy the evening out there. Before I do leave the podium, I do want to take one more opportunity to thank Steve and Vicki, who really put this all together for us. So let's appreciate that. Thank you again very much. We appreciate the hospitality, and it's been a great evening. So we thank you all for your support out there. So with that, I'm going to step away and let everybody enjoy the rest of their evening, and thank you for coming out and supporting the club.
Thank you.